A manicured hand extends across the polished conference table. The billionaire CEO glances at it with pure contempt. "I don't shake hands with staff," he declares, his voice dripping with arrogance. The room falls silent. What he doesn't know is that this staff member controls his company's entire future. What would you do if someone dismissed you as just staff, when you held the power to change their entire future? When respect costs nothing, yet some people choose to withhold it based on assumptions that will destroy them. Have you ever walked into a room where people immediately underestimated you based on how you looked? Where your expertise was questioned before you even spoke? Where you felt the weight of silent judgments measuring your worth by your appearance rather than your achievements? This is the reality millions face daily. Workplace discrimination disguised as corporate culture. When bias becomes business as usual and respect becomes conditional on status, race, and gender. But what happens when the person you disrespect holds billions in investment power? When your prejudice becomes the very weapon that dismantles everything you've built? Stay tuned, because this story will change how you think about respect forever. If you've ever been underestimated or want to see justice served, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Rise Stories for more incredible tales of resilience and excellence. Drop a comment sharing your own experiences. Your story matters here. Now, let's meet the woman who changed everything. Meet Dr. Zara Montgomery, a name that sends ripples through Wall Street boardrooms. At 42, she's the founding partner of Meridian Capital Ventures, controlling over $2 billion in investment funds. Her Harvard MBA and PhD in economics are just pieces of paper compared to her real power, the ability to make or break companies with a single decision. Zara didn't inherit her wealth or marry into it. She built her empire from the ground up, transforming a $50,000 student loan into a financial powerhouse. Her investment decisions have launched unicorn startups and toppled established corporations. Tech giants court her favor, knowing that Meridian's backing can turn dreams into billion-dollar realities. But today, Zara walks into Pinnacle Tech Solutions not as the celebrated venture capitalist she is, but as someone they'll mistake for just another employee. Their biggest mistake? Treating her like she doesn't belong. Their biggest lesson? Learning exactly who they're dealing with. Zara's corner office on the 47th floor overlooks Manhattan's financial district, where deals worth billions are sealed with handshakes and trust. Meridian Capital Ventures isn't just another investment firm. It's the gateway between revolutionary technology and market domination. Companies don't just seek Zara's money. They crave her endorsement, her network, her ability to transform startups into industry titans. The numbers tell her story. 847% average return on investments, 23 unicorn companies in her portfolio, and zero tolerance for mediocrity. When Zara's team announces interest in a company, stock prices surge overnight. When she withdraws support, entire boards resign in disgrace. Today's target represents her largest potential investment ever, $2.3 billion for a 40% stake in Pinnacle Tech Solutions. Their artificial intelligence platform promises to revolutionize healthcare diagnostics, potentially saving millions of lives while generating astronomical profits. The technology is groundbreaking, the market opportunity massive, and the financial projections flawless. But Zara learned long ago that brilliant technology means nothing if the people behind it are fundamentally flawed. She's witnessed countless promising companies collapse under toxic leadership, discrimination lawsuits, and cultural scandals that destroy public trust. Before committing billions, she needs to evaluate something no financial statement can reveal: the character of Pinnacle's leadership team. This morning, Zara abandoned her usual armor, the Armani suits, Louboutin heels, and Cartier watch that announce her status from across a room. Instead, She chose modest business attire. A simple black blazer, understated jewelry, and comfortable flats. Her luxury sedan stays parked while she drives a rented Toyota Camry. Her assistant scheduled today's meeting under a carefully crafted cover story. To Pinnacle's executives, she's Zara Montgomery, diversity consultant, hired to evaluate their workplace culture for a potential compliance audit. Her LinkedIn profile has been temporarily modified, her Wikipedia page scrubbed of recent achievements. This deception isn't manipulation, it's due diligence. Zara wants to witness how Pinnacle treats people they perceive as powerless. Do they extend basic courtesy to consultants? How do they respond to questions from someone they consider beneath them? Their behavior toward a diversity consultant will reveal everything about their values, their integrity, and their worthiness of her investment. Zara's research team has already uncovered troubling patterns. Pinnacle's executive leadership is entirely white and male, despite operating in diverse markets. Their employee reviews mention old boys club mentality and advancement challenges for women and minorities. 3 discrimination complaints were settled quietly in the past 18 months, sealed behind non-disclosure agreements. Most telling, their diversity and inclusion officer left abruptly 6 weeks ago, citing irreconcilable differences with company culture. Her replacement hasn't been named. For a company seeking massive investment in today's market, these warning signs suggest leadership that's either oblivious to modern business realities or deliberately resistant to change. Have you ever worked somewhere that made you feel invisible or unwelcome? Share your workplace experiences in the comments. Your voice matters. If this story resonates with you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more powerful tales of justice and transformation. Zara approaches Pinnacle Tech Solutions' gleaming headquarters at exactly 10 a.m. The receptionist, a young blonde woman named Ashley, glances up with a practiced smile that falters when their eyes meet. "Good morning. I'm here for my appointment with the executive team." Zara Montgomery. Ashley's fingers hover over her keyboard, confusion crossing her face. "Oh, are you here for the cleaning services interview? Human Resources is on the 3rd floor, elevator bank B." "No, I have a scheduled meeting with CEO Richard Blackstone regarding workplace culture assessment." Ashley's eyebrows arch skeptically. She checks her screen again, clearly doubting Zara's claim. "Let me call upstairs to confirm." Her tone suggests she's doing Zara a favor rather than performing basic professional courtesy. After a whispered phone conversation, Ashley's demeanor shifts to barely concealed surprise. "They'll be right down. Please wait in the lobby seating area." She gestures toward plastic chairs near the maintenance closet rather than the executive waiting lounge with its leather furniture and complimentary refreshments. Zara observes 2 white men in expensive suits being escorted directly to the executive elevator while she's left standing beside a janitor's cart. The message is clear: you don't belong here. 25 minutes pass before Richard Blackstone's assistant, Derek, retrieves Zara. His greeting lacks warmth. "Ms. Montgomery? This way." He leads her not to the executive conference room she researched online, but to a cramped interior meeting space with no windows and outdated furniture. "Coffee?" he asks, already turning away before she can respond. When Derek returns, he slides a chipped mug across the scratched table. The coffee is lukewarm and bitter, clearly from the break room, not the premium blend served to important visitors. "So," Derek begins, settling into his chair with visible reluctance, "you're here about our diversity situation." He pronounces the word like it tastes unpleasant. "Frankly, I'm not sure why we need an outside consultant. We treat everyone fairly here." Zara opens her portfolio. "I'd like to review your current policies regarding—" "Actually," Derek interrupts. "Before we start, I should mention that Mr. Blackstone might need to step out for important calls. You understand how busy executives get." The implication stings. Your time doesn't matter. Your presence is an inconvenience. And this meeting ranks below everything else on their schedule. When Zara asks specific questions about promotion rates and compensation equity, Derek's responses become increasingly dismissive. I think you're overcomplicating things. We promote based on merit here. Maybe certain groups just need to work harder to prove themselves. His words hang in the air like a challenge. Zara's expression remains neutral, but internally, her mind operates like a steel trap. Each insult, each microaggression, each moment of disrespect gets filed away with surgical precision. She's navigated these hostile waters for 2 decades, building immunity to their poison while learning to weaponize their arrogance against them. Her breathing stays controlled, her voice measured. This isn't her first encounter with institutional racism disguised as corporate culture. She remembers her mentor's advice. Let them reveal themselves completely before you reveal yourself at all. Every slight strengthens her resolve. Every assumption about her capabilities will make their eventual reckoning more devastating. Zara mentally catalogs each incident with photographic clarity. The misdirection to cleaning services, the segregated seating, the lukewarm coffee, the interruptions, the merit-based promotion deflection. These aren't isolated incidents, but calculated disrespect. Her phone's voice recorder captures every word for later documentation. The executive conference room houses 5 men who carry themselves like kings of their domain. CEO Richard Blackstone commands the head of the table, his silver hair perfectly styled, his confidence radiating entitlement. To his right sits CFO Marcus Webb, constantly checking his Rolex as if counting the minutes until this diversity nonsense ends. CTO James Patterson slouches in his chair, openly scrolling through his phone during introductions. Head of Operations Bradley Chun keeps his arms crossed, his expression broadcasting skepticism about Zara's qualifications. VP of Sales Michael Torres whispers jokes to Patterson, their stifled laughter creating an atmosphere of juvenile mockery. None of them stand when Zara enters. No handshakes are offered, no business cards exchanged. They treat her arrival like an unavoidable interruption rather than a scheduled appointment. Their body language screams dismissal. Turned shoulders, minimal eye contact, fingers drumming impatiently on the mahogany surface. Blackstone gestures to the single empty chair positioned at the far end of the table, physically separating Zara from their inner circle. The power dynamics are deliberately constructed to diminish her presence and reinforce their collective authority. They've transformed a business meeting into an interrogation, with Zara cast as the unwelcome outsider seeking their approval. So, Blackstone begins, his tone suggesting he's addressing a child. I understand you want to discuss our workplace culture. Let me save you some time. We run a meritocracy here. The best people rise to the top, regardless of background. Webb nods enthusiastically. Exactly. We don't see color or gender. We see talent and results. When Zara attempts to ask about specific metrics, Patterson interrupts. Look, lady, we've been building successful companies since before diversity became trendy. Our numbers speak for themselves. If I could just review your promotion data, Zara begins. Data? Torres laughs. What data do you need? We promote people who deserve it. It's not our fault if certain demographics don't measure up. Chun leans forward with mock concern. Maybe the real question is whether your consulting approach considers the challenges of running a tech company. This isn't social work, it's business. Every attempt Zara makes to steer the conversation towards substantive analysis gets derailed by their patronizing responses. They speak over her, dismiss her questions as irrelevant, and treat her expertise like amateur opinion. Blackstone's voice drips with false patience. I think you're overthinking this. We treat everyone the same here. If people feel excluded, maybe they need to work harder to fit in with our culture. The room's energy feeds their collective arrogance. They exchange knowing glances, smirk at her questions, and respond to her professional inquiries with a kind of condescension reserved for people they consider intellectually inferior. Despite their attempts to marginalize her, Zara's questions begin revealing cracks in their facade. Her voice remains calm, professional, surgical in its precision. "Mr. Blackstone, your employee retention rate dropped 34% last year. Can you correlate that with any specific policy changes?" The room falls silent. Blackstone's confident smile wavers. "And Mr. Webb, your revenue projections assume continued growth, but 3 major contracts weren't renewed. Were exit interviews conducted with those clients?" Webb shifts uncomfortably, clearly unprepared for such detailed analysis. Zara continues methodically. "Your AI platform requires diverse data sets for accurate healthcare diagnostics. How does your homogeneous development team ensure algorithmic fairness across different demographic groups?" Patterson looks up from his phone, suddenly alert. This isn't a question he can dismiss with platitudes. "Furthermore," Zara adds, consulting her notes, "the FDA's new AI bias guidelines will require documented diversity protocols. Your current compliance status seems incomplete." The executives exchange worried glances. Her questions demonstrate intimate knowledge of their business, their industry, and their vulnerabilities. She's not some generic consultant asking theoretical questions. She understands their company better than they expected anyone could. Chen clears his throat nervously. "How exactly do you know our retention numbers?" Sensing danger, Blackstone attempts damage control. "You know what? I think we're getting too deep into operational details. Your job is diversity consulting, not business strategy." Torres jumps in. "Maybe we should focus on simpler things, like sensitivity training or pronoun workshops. That's more your speed, right?" Webb tries a different approach. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable speaking with our HR manager. She handles the soft skill stuff." Or better yet, Patterson suggests with barely concealed hostility, "Why don't you focus on organizing employee resource groups? You know, potluck dinners, cultural awareness months. Leave the real business decisions to people who understand them." Their attempts to diminish her role only highlight their panic. They're trying to box her into stereotypical consulting services while avoiding the substantive business analysis she's conducting. Each dismissal reveals their fear that she knows too much, understands too deeply, and threatens their carefully constructed narrative of meritocratic success. The conference room door swings open with authority. Jonathan Sterling, managing partner of Sterling and Associates Investment Group, strides in wearing a $5,000 Brioni suit and commanding presence that immediately shifts the room's energy. His reputation precedes him. He's been featured on Forbes covers, quoted in Wall Street Journal headlines, and courted by Fortune 500 CEOs seeking his backing. Sterling represents exactly the kind of investor Pinnacle desperately needs. Established, connected, and wielding enough capital to validate their company in the eyes of other major players. His arrival transforms the previously tense atmosphere into electric anticipation as each executive straightens in their chairs. "Jonathan." Blackstone leaps from his seat, arms extended in genuine welcome. "Fantastic to see you again, my friend." The two men embrace like old fraternity brothers, their handshake lingering with mutual respect and shared understanding. Sterling receives the royal treatment. Immediate offers of premium coffee, the finest pastries, a chair positioned directly beside Blackstone at the table's power center. "Gentlemen," Sterling announces warmly, working his way around the table. Each executive stands eagerly for their turn, competing for his attention and approval. Firm handshakes, genuine smiles, business cards exchanged with reverent care. Webb practically glows when Sterling compliments his financial projections. Patterson beams as Sterling praises their technical innovations. Torres and Chun vie for clever remarks that might earn Sterling's laughter. The contrast is stark and deliberate. While Zara was treated like an unwelcome obligation, Sterling receives treatment reserved for royalty. Every gesture communicates his value, his importance, his belonging in their exclusive circle. The message couldn't be clearer. This is how we treat people who matter. Sterling's attention finally turns toward Zara's end of the table. She stands gracefully, extending her hand with professional courtesy, ready to introduce herself properly. But Sterling barely glances in her direction. His expression shifts from warmth to cool indifference, his extended hand dropping to his side as if burned. "I don't shake hands with staff," he declares matter-of-factly, his voice carrying the casual cruelty of someone accustomed to social hierarchies. The words slice through the air with devastating precision. The room falls silent except for the faint hum of air conditioning. Sterling's dismissal isn't shouted or aggressive. It's delivered with the cold certainty of someone who believes his superiority is simply natural law. Zara's face remains perfectly composed, betraying nothing of the volcanic rage building beneath her professional exterior. Her hand lowers slowly, deliberately, each movement controlled with the precision of a master chess player contemplating their opponent's fatal mistake. Inside, she's calculating. Every detail of this moment gets permanently etched into her memory. Sterling's arrogant smirk, Blackstone's uncomfortable silence, the other executives' cowardly refusal to intervene. Her breathing stays steady, her posture erect, her voice level when she responds. "Of course, I understand completely." But her eyes hold promises of consequences Sterling cannot yet comprehend. The game has fundamentally changed, and he just sealed his fate. Have you ever experienced this level of workplace disrespect? When someone's prejudice completely blinded them to who you really were? Share your story in the comments below. Let's support each other. Hit that like button if you're ready to see justice served. Zara excuses herself from the conference room, citing a brief personal call. She walks calmly to Pinnacle's lobby, her composure masking the storm brewing beneath. From her phone, she dials a familiar number. "Marcus, it's me." Her investment director's voice crackles through. "How's the culture assessment going?" Code red, Zara responds quietly, their established signal for maximum threat level. Full evaluation required. Sterling and Associates is involved. Jonathan Sterling? That explains the morning's unusual activity. Should we proceed with Protocol 7? Protocol 7 represents Meridian Capital's most aggressive due diligence process. Financial forensics, market analysis, and comprehensive background investigations conducted simultaneously across multiple teams. Affirmative. I need complete profiles on all executives, board members, and major investors within 4 hours. Cross-reference with discrimination settlements, employee complaints, and regulatory violations. Consider it done. Anything specific? Zara watches through the glass doors as Sterling continues his animated conversation with Pinnacle's leadership. Focus on their diversity metrics, employee turnover patterns, and recent legal activities. Also, run a complete financial stress test. I want to know every vulnerability in their capital structure. We'll have preliminary results within 2 hours. Full analysis by end of business. Perfect. And Marcus? This stays between us until I give the signal. Understood. Good hunting. Within minutes of Zara's call, Meridian Capital's trading floor transforms into a precision instrument of financial warfare. Her team begins executing carefully calculated moves designed to test Pinnacle's market stability without triggering regulatory attention. Small sell orders for Pinnacle stock appear across multiple exchanges, each transaction seemingly unrelated but collectively creating downward pressure. Algorithmic trading systems detect the pattern and begin following suit, amplifying the effect. Simultaneously, Meridian's analysts start reaching out to their network of institutional investors, asking seemingly innocent questions about Pinnacle's long-term prospects. These casual inquiries plant seeds of doubt in key decision-makers' minds. Credit rating agencies receive anonymous tips requesting reviews of Pinnacle's debt obligations. Banking partners get subtle questions about the company's loan covenant compliance. Supply chain partners find themselves fielding inquiries about contract renewals. None of these actions violate regulations or constitute market manipulation. They represent legitimate business intelligence gathering. But their combined effect creates a web of scrutiny that will expose every weakness in Pinnacle's corporate structure. By lunchtime, Pinnacle's stock price has dropped 3% on mysteriously heavy trading volume. Financial news outlets begin speculating about the cause, their coverage attracting additional attention from institutional investors who previously ignored the company. Meridian's research team operates like a digital forensics unit, dissecting Pinnacle's corporate history with surgical precision. Public records reveal a troubling pattern of discrimination complaints, each settled quickly with non-disclosure agreements designed to hide systematic problems. Former employees, contacted through professional networks, describe a hostile environment where women and minorities face constant undermining. Several report being passed over for promotions despite superior performance reviews, while less qualified white male colleagues advanced rapidly. LinkedIn analysis reveals startling demographics. Pinnacle's executive team, board of directors, and senior management are 94% white and 89% male. This homogeneity extends to their investor network, legal representation, and even their chosen consultants. Everyone except the diversity consultant they're currently dismissing. Financial records show Pinnacle spent $2.3 million on legal settlements over the past 3 years, costs carefully buried in general administrative expenses. Exit interviews, obtained through industry connections, cite toxic leadership and boys' club mentality as primary reasons for departure. Most damning, 3 separate attempts to establish employee resource groups were quietly disbanded by executive order, with participants reporting subtle retaliation for their involvement. The evidence paints a clear portrait of institutional discrimination masquerading as merit-based management. Zara's team compiles everything into a comprehensive dossier that will become Pinnacle's Judgment Day documentation. Pinnacle's stock price begins hemorrhaging value like a punctured artery. What started as a modest 3% decline accelerates into free fall as automated trading algorithms detect weakness and pile on. Within 2 hours, the company loses $340 million in market capitalization. Financial news networks scramble to explain the sudden collapse. CNBC runs a breaking news ticker. Pinnacle Tech Solutions down 12% on heavy volume. Bloomberg analysts speculate about potential regulatory issues, while Reuters reports mysterious large block sell orders flooding the market. The selling pressure creates a cascading effect. Institutional investors who previously held steady positions begin questioning their exposure. Pension funds call emergency meetings to reassess their Pinnacle holdings. Hedge funds smell blood in the water and initiate short positions, betting the decline will continue. Credit markets react swiftly. Pinnacle's corporate bonds trade down significantly as investors demand higher yields to compensate for perceived risk. Banking partners receive margin calls on existing credit facilities. The company's carefully maintained investment-grade rating faces immediate review by major agencies. Most devastating, 3 major clients call to discuss contract renewals ahead of schedule, their confidence shaken by the market turbulence. In the tech industry, perception drives reality, and Pinnacle's perception is rapidly deteriorating from stable growth company to potential distressed investment. The executive conference room erupts in controlled chaos as phones ring constantly, with urgent calls from investors, analysts, and board members demanding explanations nobody can provide. What the hell is happening to our stock? Blackstone shouts at Webb, who frantically types on his laptop while juggling 3 different phone calls. I don't know. Webb responds, sweat beading on his forehead. Our fundamentals haven't changed. Revenue projections remain solid. There's no logical reason for this sell-off. Patterson abandons all pretense of composure, pacing the room while barking orders at his technical team through his Bluetooth headset. Run every diagnostic, check every server, analyze every piece of code. Someone might have leaked a security vulnerability. Torres attempts damage control with their largest clients, his voice strained with false confidence. No, sir. This is just temporary market volatility. Our service agreements remain unchanged. Chen coordinates with their public relations firm, crafting emergency statements designed to halt the decline. Pinnacle Technologies maintains strong financial position despite market fluctuations. Sterling, no longer the confident investor who refused Zara's handshake, appears genuinely worried. His own reputation depends on backing winners, and this sudden crisis threatens his carefully cultivated image of investment excellence. We need answers, he demands. My partners are asking questions I can't answer. This morning, everything looked perfect. Now we're watching millions disappear in real time. The room's energy has shifted from arrogant confidence to desperate confusion. These men who spent the morning dismissing Zara's expertise now face consequences they can't comprehend or control. Webb's frantic research finally yields results that drain the color from his face. His hands shake as he stares at his computer screen, cross-referencing trading patterns with institutional investor databases. Oh my God, he whispers, his voice barely audible. What? Blackstone demands. The selling pressure, it's coming from Meridian Capital Ventures. The room falls silent except for the persistent ringing of unanswered phones. Meridian. Sterling's voice cracks slightly. They're one of the biggest venture capital firms on the East Coast. Why would they target us? Webb's fingers fly across his keyboard, pulling up Meridian's leadership profiles. When Dr. Zara Montgomery's professional headshot appears on his screen, he turns the laptop toward the group with trembling hands. Because, he says, his voice thick with dawning horror, the diversity consultant we've been dismissing all morning is Meridian's founding partner. She controls over $2 billion in investment capital. The silence that follows is deafening. Every insult, every microaggression, every moment of disrespect they heaped upon Zara replays in their minds with devastating clarity. Sterling's face goes ashen. The woman whose hand I refuse to shake. She's Dr. Zara Montgomery? Blackstone slumps in his chair, the full weight of their catastrophic mistake crushing down upon him like an avalanche. Blackstone springs into action with the desperation of a drowning man grasping for lifelines. Get her back here immediately. Tell her there was a misunderstanding. Torres rushes toward the lobby, but returns moments later with devastating news. She's gone. Left 20 minutes ago. Call her office. Webb suggests frantically. Apologize. Explain that we didn't realize. Realize what? Sterling interrupts bitterly. That we should treat people with basic human respect? That we shouldn't assume someone's worth based on their appearance. Chen attempts a different approach. Maybe we can reach out through intermediaries. Explain that our behavior doesn't reflect company values, doesn't it? Blackstone asks grimly. Because from where I'm sitting, our behavior reflected exactly who we are. The room's panic intensifies as they realize the scope of their predicament. They didn't just insult a consultant. They declared war on one of the most powerful investors in their industry, and she's already begun fighting back. Zara's team operates with the precision of federal prosecutors building an airtight case. Every discriminatory incident from the morning gets transformed into admissible evidence. Time-stamped audio recordings, witness statements, photographic documentation of the segregated seating arrangements. Her legal department cross-references this fresh evidence with the previously gathered intelligence, discrimination settlements, employee complaints, demographic analysis of hiring and promotion patterns. The documentation reveals not isolated incidents, but systematic institutional bias operating at every level of Pinnacle's organization. Meridian's compliance team ensures every piece of evidence meets regulatory standards. Screenshots of internal emails obtained through industry contacts show executives joking about diversity initiatives. Financial records demonstrate pay disparities between equally qualified employees of different demographics. The compiled dossier reads like a masterclass in corporate discrimination. 847 pages of evidence, 156 witness statements, and 23 separate regulatory violations. Each document is authenticated, verified, and legally bulletproof. Within 6 hours, copies are delivered to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and major business publications. The evidence speaks with devastating clarity about Pinnacle's true corporate culture. The business community reacts with swift and merciless judgment. Within hours of the documentation's release, institutional investors begin fleeing Pinnacle like passengers abandoning a sinking ship. CalPERS, the massive California pension fund, announces immediate divestment of all Pinnacle holdings, citing fundamental concerns about corporate governance and risk management. Their statement triggers a domino effect as other pension funds follow suit to avoid association with discriminatory practices. Vanguard and BlackRock, two of the world's largest investment managers, quietly liquidate their positions. While they issue no public statements, their actions send unmistakable signals to the broader market about Pinnacle's investment viability. More damaging, 3 board members resign within hours, each citing irreconcilable differences with management philosophy. Their departures aren't just symbolic. They represent decades of industry relationships and credibility walking away from Pinnacle forever. Strategic partners distance themselves with carefully worded statements. Microsoft cancels a pending integration agreement. Amazon suspends Pinnacle from their preferred vendor program. Google removes Pinnacle's AI platform from their cloud marketplace. The company's banking syndicate calls an emergency meeting to discuss loan covenant violations triggered by the stock price collapse. Credit lines get frozen pending enhanced due diligence review. Without access to capital markets or banking relationships, Pinnacle faces immediate liquidity crisis. Industry publications begin preparing exposé articles about systemic discrimination in tech companies, with Pinnacle serving as the primary cautionary tale. Blackstone's downfall arrives with bureaucratic efficiency. The board of directors convenes an emergency session via video conference, their faces grim with the reality of legal and financial catastrophe. Richard, board chairman William Hayes announces with cold finality, effective immediately, you're terminated for cause. Security will escort you from the building within the hour. 23 years of building Pinnacle evaporate in a single sentence. Blackstone's stock options become worthless paper. His golden parachute clause is voided due to the termination circumstances. His industry reputation lies in ruins, ensuring no major tech company will ever consider him for executive leadership. The severance package he once negotiated worth millions shrinks to basic legal minimums. Headhunters who previously courted him now avoid his calls. Professional networks that once opened doors slam shut with finality. Within days, Blackstone finds himself unemployed, unemployable, and facing personal liability lawsuits from shareholders who lost millions due to his discriminatory leadership practices that created the crisis. Pinnacle Technologies emerges from the crisis fundamentally transformed under new leadership. The board appoints Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a Latina tech executive with impeccable credentials, as CEO. Her first actions send clear signals: implementing blind recruitment processes, establishing employee resource groups, and creating accountability metrics for inclusive leadership. The company institutes mandatory bias training for all managers, transparent promotion criteria, and regular equity audits. Exit interviews become comprehensive culture assessments. Pay gaps get eliminated through systematic compensation reviews. Most significantly, Pinnacle establishes the Montgomery Fellowship Program, offering mentorship and advancement opportunities for underrepresented employees. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Zara's name now represents the very values the previous leadership rejected. Within 6 months, employee satisfaction scores triple, turnover drops dramatically, and innovation metrics improve as diverse perspectives enhance product development. Zara's actions catalyze widespread change across the venture capital industry. Investment firms begin implementing cultural due diligence as standard practice, recognizing that discrimination creates measurable business risks. The Pinnacle Protocol emerges as industry standard, requiring diversity metrics, culture assessments, and leadership accountability before major investments. Firms that ignore these factors find themselves excluded from consortium deals and industry partnerships. Business schools add case studies examining how bias destroys company value. Executive search firms expand criteria beyond traditional networks. Corporate boards demand evidence of inclusive practices during investment reviews. Most importantly, underrepresented entrepreneurs gain access to previously closed networks as investors actively seek diverse leadership teams to avoid Pinnacle-style disasters. Respect costs nothing but pays everything. Every person you encounter could change your world, for better or worse. Subscribe for more stories proving that character matters more than credentials. Share this if you believe everyone deserves basic human dignity, regardless of assumptions about their status. That's the power of Rise stories: resilience, injustice, stories, excellence. Hit subscribe to join our community fighting discrimination through storytelling. Smash that like button if justice was served. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Your voice amplifies change. Together, we rise.